Now, as we continue to focus today on the ever-growing crime rate in our country, crime specialist Mike Bolhuis joins us this afternoon to talk to us about the increase in kidnappings and human trafficking. How safe are we in South Africa? Mike, thank you very much for your time here on All Angles. I think that question is quite simple. I don't know if the answer is as simple. Are we safe in South Africa? Clearly not. We are one of the countries with the most kidnappings.
Yes, I've just listened to Yusuf, and what he has said is absolutely so. We are not safe, and I urge the public to really not not go about without being aware. So whatever you do, if you cross a street, if you go to a mall, if you go on a vacation, if you drive, wherever you move, I really want to stress it. You need to be aware of your surroundings. You need to be aware what's going on around you, and you need to plan whatever you do. This is how bad it has become. Kidnapping and all other crimes has escalated in such a manner that the police can unfortunately not cope with all the crimes that is presented to them today.
What caused this to happen? Is it our fault? Is it because of our state security agency, having seen what happened last July and the police not communicating properly? Why did it become so much worse in South Africa?
We need to understand that South Africa has become, during the last few years, a lucrative country to commit crime. Crime begets crime. Crime gets committed in South Africa from the smallest crime, stealing a cell phone, to Ponzi schemes, from just normal attacks to murder and rapes. Violent and economic crimes are all serious in South Africa because the criminal element can commit it and he can get away. But the number one culprit here is our government, unfortunately. We are supporting them. We will always be a unit that will be seen as number two. We are there to support the police. We are there to support the government. But unless the government deals with its own corruption, the criminal element won't fear the government, and they will not change. Neither will the government be able to deal with them. Because as I've said, crime begets crime. Why would the criminals stop committing crime when they can and can get away with it, and their very police is involved in crime and the very government is involved in crime? So the number one culprit in our country is the government. The number two culprit is the police. And unless the police in itself also rids itself completely of corruption and comes back to a point where they are feared and respected, why would the criminals stop? So the number three thing, which is actually the overall reason for crimes, many crimes being committed, is poverty. If you have a nation where there's so much poverty in our country and in Africa, unfortunately, you're going to steal your neighbor's chicken if you're hungry. And as I've said, once a small crime starts, it develops into a bigger and a greater crime. So the mindset in our country has become that if you are poor and you absolutely have nothing, you will resort to crime and you would commit these crimes, and eventually you'll get involved in bigger crimes because you would always need and want more. And if there's no authorities dealing with this, no visual policing, no zero tolerance, and you have a corrupt government, you have a very explosive situation in our country. And we have to say it as it is, and we mean what we say. These extreme crimes that puts us all in an absolute state of shock and fear and paranoia is unfortunately what we're going to have to live through in the next generation if this doesn't change.
Yeah, and of course the fact that the crime is getting worse and the poverty also and all the things that you've mentioned that contribute to the crime getting worse in South Africa, the other risk is seeing lawlessness in our country. I mean, we've seen, for instance, vigilante attacks actually increase with people taking the law into their own hands, etc. So, I'm assuming that's also the other risk, because now it'll be people using crime to stop crime.
Yes, there is lawlessness because there's no control. We get so many people calling us, and I'm sure there's other institutions that's private that gets the same, where they would clearly state to you that they do not trust the authorities, do not want to get involved with the authorities. I once again beg the public to give the police constantly a chance. Seek out the policeman that really wants to protect and serve, really wants to make a difference, and at least get the cases made. And let's get statistics in, which is a very important thing, but work with the police. Always go that route before coming to a private organization. But yes, that lawlessness is unfortunately widespread, especially amongst our youth. The lawlessness amongst our youth is enormous in schools and everywhere. And that brings about to become later bigger and much worse criminals into our country, because there is absolutely no fear or respect for the authorities, and there is no rules and regulations anymore. We see so many videos, you guys have seen it, of where the police are taunted. They just stand on the fringes. They cannot get involved. They're scared, and they actually admit that they are scared. So if you have that situation in our country, you will have vigilantes, you will have people that will take the law into their own hands, and that's a crime in itself, and that's going to cause a very serious divide in future, and that's going to cause an even more concerning factor, and that is that the police is going to eventually be not trusted or drawn in or pulled in any way, and the people are going to sort things out for themselves. That's happening a lot.
Happening a lot, yeah. Well, thank you very much for speaking to us here on All Angles. That was crime specialist Mike Bolhuis speaking to us there about the state of crime in our country. All right, let's take you back to the story now. Of course, President Cyril Ramaphosa appointing Justice Mandi Samaya as the new Deputy Chief Justice. He says she's had a distinguished